بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Okay, dear students, in the College of Distance Education, we are going today now to explain another tense. Okay, you know that we previously explained two tenses, the present continuous tense and also the present simple tense, and how do we make sentences in those tenses in English, and also how do we make them negative and how do we make questions in those tenses. Now we have another tense, which is the past simple tense. Okay, the past simple tense is also one of the tenses in English that are commonly used in English. For example, like the past simple, the present simple, the present continuous tense. These tenses are commonly used in English, and we use the past simple tense usually if we want to make, for example, narration, or we want to ask someone a story that happened in the past, or something happened in the past. So the past simple tense, I mean, first of all, I'm going to explain when do we use this tense in English. Because it is the past simple tense, I mean, the tense is past, so it is used to express actions that happened in the past and finished in the past, and there is no connection at all between the past and the present in this tense. I mean, so the action that happened there happened in the past and finished in the past, and it is not related to the present at all. So something finished completely in the past. So this is the past simple tense, and sometimes when you talk to someone and you give someone information that happened about something that happened in the past, or you tell someone a story, or you went for a journey, for example, in the past, and you tell someone, what did you do in that journey? So you give him those actions of that journey in the past simple tense, because all the actions in that journey finished in the past, and they don't have any relation with this time. So now look, we have the past simple. Past simple, as we see here, is used to express actions that happened in the past. So this is the general, use of the past simple tense. Okay, something that happened in the past, which is different from the tenses that we previously explained. Continuous and simple present. Past verb often ends. You know that past form is, the past form in English. We have to make the verb usually, the common rule and the regular rule of the making the past form of the verb is by adding ed to the verb. For example, when we say play, played, and visit, visited, watch, watched, help, helped. So all these verbs end in ed, which forms the past tense of these verbs. So we usually, this is the common, the rule of making the verbs past in English, but this is regular verbs, but we have so many other irregular verbs. They are not they don't follow this rule of ed, so they are exceptions in English. But how do we make those irregular verbs past? So we have to memorize the formation of the past. We have to memorize the past form, and it is not they don't follow the regular rule of making the past tense, which is adding ed. So for example, now we have the verb go, and we can, so for example, we have the verb go, we have come, we have run, we have drive, we have eat, we have speak. For example, these verbs are irregular verbs. That their past doesn't end in ed. For example, we can say go, the past form is went. For example, speak, spoke. For example, run, ran. Come, came, and for example, eat, ate. So these verbs are called irregular verbs because they don't follow the rule of making the past form of verbs in English. So now we have this point, which is past verb. Often we say often, that means not always. Often end in they end in ed. And regular verbs, example, visited, played. We have some now sentences as examples. Look, now we have these sentences. For example, they invited us to their party, but we decided not to go. They invited us to their party, but we decided not to go. So this sentence is in the past simple tense because you have the verb here is the past, which is invited, and you have subject. We know that the form of the past simple tense is subject, and then followed by past form of the verb. The second conjugation, the second form of the verb. So they invited us to the party, but we decided not to go. The police, for example, stopped me on my way home last night. The police stopped me on my way home last night. So here the verb stopped here is the past simple tense also, because we have this is also irregular. I mean a regular verb, because we make it by adding ed. The last sentence here in this point, we have, for example, Laura passed her exam because she studied very hard. Laura passed her exam because she studied very hard. So all these three sentences are in the past simple tense, because the verb here is past form, and it is preceded by a subject. The subject here in the past simple tense doesn't affect, the verb, either to be, for example, the subject, for example, plural or singular. The verb should be only past form. There is no change in the verb. For example, like those that have been that happen in the present simple tense. So they invited us. For example, here the subject is plural. The second one, the police, is singular. Laura is singular, and the verb that follows them is past simple tense. So now these sentences show you that that some verbs in English, their past form is by adding ed, but some other sentences are irregular verbs because they don't follow the rule of ed. We have so many verbs that have different form in the past. Not by adding ed, but we have to memorize how do we make those verbs. For example, like go, go, write. Here you have now look, we have, for example, write, wrote, see, saw, go, went, shut, for example, come, came, run, ran, speak, spoke, eat, ate. So all these verbs are irregular verbs because their past is not formed by adding ed, but is only regular. So we have to memorize their past form. For example, now look at these examples. Mozart wrote more than 600 pieces of music. Mozart wrote more than 600 pieces of music. So here the sentence is in the past simple tense. We saw Alice in town a few days ago. I went to the cinema 3 times last week. It was cold, so I shut the window. So all these sentences are in the past simple tense. Why? Because they are formed by a subject, and that subject is followed by past verb. So sometimes there's one. Now look here, we have one point which is using was and were in the past simple tense. If we have, for example, a subject followed by was, were immediately, and not followed by a verb. So these sentences are also in the past simple tense. For example, he was at home. He was, for example, he was a carpenter. He was a fisherman. They were friends. For example, they were friends. So these sentences are also in the past simple tense because they are followed by verbs to be, yes, but this verb to be is past. So the sentence is also in the past simple tense, and also the other two sentences, which is Mozart wrote more than 600. We saw Alice in town a few days ago. So all these sentences are in the past simple tense because, and now we know, for example, now we know that the actions of these sentences all happened in the past and finished in the past. When I say, for example, Mozart wrote more than 600 pieces of music, so that's something happened in the past and finished in the past, and it is not related to the present. For example, we saw Alice in town a few days ago, so we saw her before some days. So that's something finished in the past. Also, I went to the cinema 3 times last week. We have last week here. Last week that expresses finished time. That means a time that finished in the past. So when I say I went to the cinema 3 times last week, this sentence expresses that the action happened in the past and finished in the past. Also, it was cold, so I shut the window. Also, this one, I mean that something in the past, it was cold, maybe last night, maybe yesterday, maybe before 2 days. So this one expresses past actions and the actions that happened in the past and finished in the past. Now look, we have the past of verbs to be. We know that verbs to be sometimes can be auxiliaries and sometimes can be used as main verbs in a sentence. So like, for example, these sentences in the past simple tense, we have am, is, are. We know that am and is Okay, the past form. Okay, the past form is was, and the past form of are is were. For example, now look, we have I was exhausted because I worked all morning. I was exhausted because I worked all morning. So here we have I was here. This is a sentence in the past simple tense because exhausted here is okay, an adjective. So I was exhausted because I worked all morning. I was annoyed because they were late. Was the weather good when you were on holiday? They weren't able to come because they were so busy. I wasn't hungry, so I didn't eat anything. So all these sentences are in the past simple tense. So at this point concerning verbs to be, I mean, and what are the past forms of verbs to be? So verb to be, if it comes in the past form in a sentence, and it is not followed by another verb, so this will be past simple tense. Okay, when I say, for example, I was happy when I met Ahmed yesterday. Okay, I was tired yesterday when I worked too hard. So these sentences are in the past simple tense also. So they express something that happened in the past, and that indicates something in the past. And the second, in this point, we have the questions and how do we make questions in the past simple tense. In the past simple tense, we explain to you how do we make the sentences in the past simple tense. We said that sentences can be with main verbs, or sometimes they can be with verb to be. So sentences with main verbs, like, for example, I played, I visited, I watched. For example, I met my friend, I ran, for example, to the college. So all these sentences are in the past. So the past form, the past simple form is subject followed by verb, past verb. I mean, a verb in the past form. So this is the past simple tense. And how do we make questions? And sometimes we may have a sentence with verb to be. I mean, a sentence in the past, but it has a verb to be. Like, for example, when I say he was, for example, a doctor, he was a carpenter. So this is in the past tense. So now the point is, we are going to explain how do we make a question in the past simple tense. First of all, I want to speak about the verbs to be. For example, verbs to be, if we have, for example, when I say he was a doctor, Hassan was, for example, a carpenter, Hassan was skillful, for example, in swimming. So how do we make these sentences, do we make questions out of these sentences? So we have to use verb to be at the beginning of a sentence. So the sentence will be a question. For example, Hassan was at home. So to be, was Hassan at home? Was Hassan at home? So only we have to put the verb to be at the beginning of the sentence. So the sentence becomes here a question and interrogative sentence. For example, now look, we have, was Hassan at home when he called him? When you called him? Yes, he was, or no, he wasn't. So the answer, it can be yes, he was, or no, he was. So usually questions using verbs to be at the beginning are yes, no questions. I mean that the answer here will be yes or no. Like, for example, was Hassan, because now we have the question using was, so the answer should be yes or no. Was Hassan at home? Yes, he was, or no, he wasn't. Was she, for example, in her room when you came? No, she wasn't, or yes, she was. So the answer should be yes or no, because the question was formed by using verbs to be. The second question here, where we have, were your parents with you in the shop? So here in this question, we have the verb to be were. Why? Because we have the subject here is plural, your parents. Here we have your parents is plural, so we have to use were in making that question. So using was here is wrong. So were your parents with you in the shop? So the answer will be yes, they were, or no, they were not. So because the question was made by using were. So the answer also should be by using were, because the question is by using were. And the answer also here will be yes or no, because the question is yes, no question, because we have were and was used to make these questions. The last question, for example, was she cooking when you went to visit her? So no, this one, this question is in the past continuous. was she cooking? But just I want to focus on the point that was here also, I mean, yes, no question, because was comes at the beginning of this question. Was she cooking when we went to visit, or when you went to visit her? Yes, she was, or no, she was not. So this is concerning how do we make questions by using verbs to be. I mean, yes, no questions. But sometimes we have some other types of questions like WH questions, WH questions which are made by using those question words, like, for example, when, like why, like when, like where, like how, like who. So questions using these words are called information questions. I mean, questions that give information. The answer is information. That means it is not yes no question. So how do we make questions by using question words? For example, now I want to use the word where. Where, and a question. I want to ask someone, where did you go? Because now we are talking about the past simple tense. So in the question we have to use the verb to do, did. Did, because did here is the past of do and does. So we have to use did here in this case, because the question is in the past. So when I say, for example, where did you meet your friend? When did you meet your friend, or where did you meet your friend? So the answer here should be past. I met my friend, for example, in the market. I met my friend in the afternoon. I met my friend yesterday. So so I should use the formation, I mean, of the information question in the past simple tense is made by using question word, for example, like what or where or when, and then followed by did, and then did followed by the infinitive of a verb. There should be infinitive after did. You know that verbs to do, does, do, and did are always followed by the infinitive. So we have to say, for example, where did you go in the morning? What did you eat for lunch yesterday? What did you eat? What did you eat for lunch yesterday? So what here is the question word, and then followed by did, and then we have the infinitive eat. What did you eat for lunch yesterday? Or where did you go in the evening, for example, last night? Where did you go? Where did you go? So we have to use where, the question word where, and then we have did, and then we have the infinitive, for example, go. So questions, can be divided into two types: yes, no questions, and questions that give information, which are made by using those question words like where, when, and when. And the answer in this case, if we have a question, for example, when did you go to the market? I went. So the question is in the past simple tense, so the answer should be in the past simple tense also. Where did you go? Where did you go? You will say, I went. Where did you play? I played. When did you, for example, visit your uncle? I visited my uncle, for example, last Friday. So the answer should be in the past simple tense according to the question, because the question is in the past simple tense. So the answer should be in the past simple tense. So this is the point concerning making questions in the past simple tense. How do we make questions in the past simple tense? The second point is related to negation, and how do we make negative sentences in the past simple tense. Negative sentences, they are similar to the present simple tense, but in this case, because we have past simple tense, we have to use did in the past, and the negative of the past simple tense, we have to use did. But also, I want to focus here on one point, which is, verbs to be and main verbs and other verbs. Verbs to be and other verbs. So verbs to be, for example, when I say, for example, I was tired, verbs to be like the same, which happens in the present simple tense. If we have verb to be, only we use the word not after verb to be to make negative. All sentences with verbs to be, they are made negative by using the word not after that verb to be. So I was tired, it should be I was not tired, I wasn't tired, for example. They were waiting for someone, they were not waiting. We enjoyed the party, we did, because now look here. In this one, number 1 and 2, we have verbs to be. In 1 and 2, we have verbs to be, I was, they were. So the negative will be I was not, they were not. So this is, easy formation. How do you make negative for the sentences of verbs to be? I think easy one. But now concerning the main verbs, like for example, we enjoyed the party. We enjoyed the party, and we made a nice for example, dressed. These two sentences, they express the past, and also we have past verbs, enjoyed and made. So how do we make these sentences negative? In this case, we have to use didn't after the subject and before the verb, and we have also to change the verb into the infinitive. For example, now we enjoyed the party. The negative is we didn't enjoy the party. She made a nice dress. She didn't make a nice dress. So in this case, now look, we have in the first one, we enjoyed the party. The negative, we didn't enjoy. So we have to change the verb to the infinitive enjoy, because it is preceded by didn't, and you know that do, does, and did should be followed by the infinitive of the verb. So we didn't enjoy the party. She made a nice dress also. It will be she didn't make a nice dress. We have changed the verb here from made into make, because make is the infinitive of the verb, and it should be infinitive because we have the word didn't here, did, so it should be followed by the infinitive make. So this is the negative of the past simple tense. So all sentences, for example, I give you different sentences in the past simple tense. For example, I say I was at home at 7 o'clock in the morning. So what's the negative will be? I was not at home. So they were, for example, in the park when I called them. So they were not in the park when I called them. But when I say, for example, I ate some meat for lunch today, so the negative will be I didn't eat. When I say I ate some meat, so it will be I didn't eat. So this is the negative form of the past simple tense. And how do we make sentences in the past simple tense negative? Now look at this table. In this table, you will find the formation of the past simple tense negative sentences, affirmative sentences, and also questions. So now look, we have the first part of this one, which, for example, we have I enjoyed, she saw, they went. I enjoyed, she saw something, they went, for example, to school. So these sentences are in the past because the subject here is followed by the past verb. And then the question, this now look, you can see the red color here. I enjoyed, did you enjoy? So this is a question in the past simple tense, but this question, it is a yes no question because we have did comes at the beginning, because we have capital here. So did you enjoy, for example, the park? Did you enjoy the journey? So did here gives a yes no question. Did she see? Did they go? Did she see, for example, so and so? Did they go to the park? So this is a yes no question. And if you want to make these questions, information questions, so we have to use a question word before the word did here. For example, what did you enjoy? For example, what did she see? Where did they go? So there will be information questions. The last part of this table, we have negative sentences. You have I didn't enjoy, she didn't see, they didn't go, for example. So these are negative sentences. And when you see those sentences, you will find that didn't here is followed by the infinitive of the verb. Now look, we have some questions. Now look at this question, for example, did you enjoy the party? Did they pass the exam? Did she clean her room? So these sentences, these are questions, interrogative questions, sentences. Did you enjoy? All of them are in the past simple tense, and all of them are yes no questions, because did here comes at the beginning of these questions, so they are yes no questions. So when you say, for example, did you enjoy the party, you will say the answer yes I did, or no I didn't, because you have the question begins with did here. So for example, did they pass the exam? Also we can say yes they did, or no they didn't. Did she clean her room? Yes she did, no she didn't. So when someone asks you a question like this one, for example, did you do your homework? The teacher asks you, did you do your homework, for example, you will say, for example, yes I did, or no I didn't, because the question in the past, so the answer should be in the past. So this is yes no question. And I told you we can change these questions into WH questions like this point. Now look here, we have past simple, but we have now WH questions. WH questions, that means they are called information questions. They are not yes/no questions. How do you make those yes/no, information questions and WH questions? How do you make them? I say that previously I explained that when I say, for example, did you enjoy the party? So this is yes/no question. So now if you want to make this question WH question, information question, we have to use a question word before the word did. So to be, for example, what did you enjoy? Okay, so now look, what did you enjoy? For example, where did you go? Where did you go? Did you go? This is yes/no question. Where did you go? This is information question. Now look, we have some examples of these questions. For example, where did you stay for? Okay, where did you stay? For example, when you go to London, or so where did you go? Where did you stay? Where did you stay? I stayed at Plaza Hotel. So now I stayed here. We use it in the answer. The past simple tense, the past form, stayed. I stayed because the question is in the past form. So if the question is in the past, the answer will be also in the past. What did you have for breakfast? What did you have? So in the question here, we have infinitive stay and infinitive have and infinitive meet and infinitive come. Okay, where did you stay? Stay. Okay, what did you have? Have here is infinitive. When did you meet? There's a mistake here. When did you meet? Or when did she meet? Okay, or when did they meet? Okay, when did they meet? So meet here is infinitive. Why did she come? Come here is an infinitive. So all these are infinitive because we have the word did. So that should be followed by the infinitive. But in the answer, we have to use the past form because there is no did. So you would say, where did you stay? I stayed at Plaza Hotel. What did you have for breakfast? I had bread with cheese. Okay, when did they meet? Okay, when did they meet? They met yesterday evening. What did she come? Or why did she come late? She said, I missed the bus. Okay, so these answers are in the past simple tense because the questions are in the past. So the form here of the WH questions, is formed by using WH word and then did and then the subject. Yes, now dear students, now look, we have some exercise concerning the point of the past simple tense. You have some sentences and you have to fill in these spaces using the verbs you have. You have catch, you have coast, you have fall, you have pearl, sell, and teach, throw, write. So now look, for example, number one, you have an example. Number one, Mozart wrote more than 600 pieces of music. So this is past simple tense, okay, because we have to change the verb write into wrote because the sentence is in the past simple tense. Also have, how did you learn to drive? How did you learn to drive? So this question is in the past. So the answer should be in the past. So it will be my father. For example, you have here teach. يعلم, teach. So it will be my father taught me. My father taught me. So it should be past because the question here in the past. Okay. Also number 3, 4, 5. Okay, you have to read them and focus on them and look which answer can be correct and which verb can be used correctly in these sentences. Also, the second exercise is the same. Put the verb into the correct form, read them carefully, and try to answer these. And this is also now this one. I think this, dear students, now we have come to the end of this lecture number 3 concerning the past simple tense. I hope that you got all the points that I explained. So okay, you have to be careful, okay, concerning these tenses, and you have to go and do some exercise concerning these tenses. Thank you very much for listening, and bye.